How to spot and avoid gold diggers. If you're a man with a successful career or your own business and you want to find a meaningful long-term relationship, a woman who loves you for you, not just for the lifestyle that you can provide, this video is crucial. I got a couple of points here. Made a list. Usually these videos are pretty free-flowing, but there's a couple of very important points that we need to go through. Because first of all, we need to define what a gold digger is, and then we need to go into the science so you can recognize it. And then I'm going to give you a couple of strategies on how to actually avoid that and how to position yourself in your communication with these women to disqualify them and to find somebody who's actually interested in you for you. So what's a gold digger? Well, a woman who's interested in you for the finances as opposed to you as a person. That's basically it. Now, the first indicator is that she's overly interested in your wealth. She may ask about your job or your income, an unusual amount of questions regarding your professional and financial life. That's a huge red flag. When you hear these things, you just got to avoid that straight away. Point number 2, lavish lifestyle expectations. If she expects travel, by the way, if her Instagram is full of pictures of her traveling and no man in sight, but her in 23 different countries, that's usually a red flag, because there's most of the time a dude behind the camera, a rather wealthy man, who then years later come to me and complain to me, and then we'll help him sort it out. But that's a red flag as well. So if she wants to travel a lot, she wants to take you to a really fancy dinner for the first date, or rather she wants you to take her there, that's also a big red flag. Number 3, avoidance of costs. If she always expects you to cover all of the expenses and she never or very rarely offers anything herself, then that's a red flag. Now look, I believe as a man it's your responsibility to pay for the dinner, to pay for the drinks. And as a first, here's a tip already, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but that's okay. Only ever do drinks as a first, second or third date, depending on what's happening, but definitely as a first date, only ever drinks, never dinner. Why? Well, because then you can avoid these types of situations and then you can absolutely pay. But if you go on a couple of dates, at some point she should offer, even if you don't take it, because it's your responsibility as a man, in my opinion, to cover it, but she should at least offer it, because that's what normal people do. It's a give and it's a take. Number 4, a lack of personal interest. If you can feel she's just not genuinely interested in who you are, your hobbies, because women who genuinely want you for you, they'll ask questions. When you tell them about your business or your hobbies, they will get very excited, or you'll at least see genuine interest in their eyes, and they'll ask questions around that. The right women couldn't give a fuck about money. Try flexing your AP. Try flexing a car. It's nice and it's fun for everybody, but the right women, they just do not care. That's very important for you to understand. Everybody likes security. Of course, everybody likes experiences. Of course, but the right women, they do not care about it to an extent where it would be their primary motivator for entering into a relationship with you. Number 5, money problems. If she constantly talks about her own money problems, or she doesn't even have a lot of money herself, that's a big red flag. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be in a relationship with a woman who has a lot of money. But there's a difference between not having a job that just doesn't pay that well, but she's reasonable and she's good with her finances, as opposed to just blowing it all, right? So it's absolutely fine for you to be in a relationship with a woman who doesn't make that much money, but she can't be irresponsible with it. She can't have a job that pays 60K and then walk around with a Louis bag. That doesn't make sense. Where did that bag come from? Well, some guy must have paid for it, right? So, or she bought it herself and she's financially irresponsible. That's a huge red flag. Number 7, relationship progression. She wants to move things forward very quickly in terms of living together, sharing a bank account. Never share the bank account. At some point when you enter, if you actually found somebody and you've gone through a proper qualification mechanism and you know she actually only wants you for you, at some point several years down the line, you can have a shared bank account that covers some amount of finances for the family, but she'll have hers, you'll have yours. That works best for most people, because if she wants to move things forward too quickly, chances are there may be an ulterior motive. Now, not always. Sometimes women just want to move things forward very quickly because they crave certainty, because they may realize you're a very desirable man and they want to take you off the dating market. Completely understandable. So the devil is in the detail and the nuance really matters. Number 8, friends and past relationships. If she has a history of dating rich guys, that says something. If she talks to you about her ex, which shouldn't necessarily be happening on the first date, but if you date her for a couple of months, at some point you'll figure something out about the types of men that she's been dating. And if it's predominantly very, very wealthy people, if that's a pattern, then you can quickly figure out what the common denominator is. In other words, money. Next one. Expensive tastes but no funds. Yeah, she likes going to fancy restaurants, she likes buying fancy stuff, but she makes a job that pays 60K herself, which is perfectly fine. Like, you don't need a woman who makes a lot of money. She should be intelligent. She doesn't need to be a supermodel, but she should be physically attractive and she should be educated and she should have some job. She should be able to take care of herself. But she doesn't have to make that much money. But if you make 60K, you cannot have a 2,000 euro Louis bag on your arm. That does not make sense. And if you're doing that, she's financially irresponsible. And can human beings change? Absolutely. But never date women for the potential that you see in them. Always date them for the actuality. Let me say that again. Never enter into a relationship, business relationship, friendship, and even less so an intimate relationship with a woman for potential. Always for actuality. If you're somebody who is a coach or a therapist, that's different. I don't see my clients for who they are. I see them for their potential, absolutely. In terms of their relationship, I already see my clients. If you want to be my client, apply for a free initial consultation call, right? But the ones who come to me, I already see them in a relationship. I visualize that, I see that, because I know it's in them. All you need to change is communication, confidence, and understanding of the dynamics. But that's not your role. If you run a business, most of the time, if you're not in a coaching role or in a therapist role, then you need to see people for where they're at, because past performance is not an ideal, yet it's the best predictor of future performance. It's very important to keep in mind. Next one, no solid career plans. Again, she doesn't have to become the VP of the next startup, but if she has zero ambition, zero plan, just like, ooh, drifting around, go with flow, guys, well, that might not be the greatest thing either. Now, if you're dating a woman and her prime focus is she wants to have a family at some point, that's different. That's absolutely fine. Being a woman who's at home and takes care of the kids is completely, the value of that has been completely forgotten in our society, and we got to remind people that mothers are heroes. One of the most important jobs is raising the next generation, so that's absolutely admirable. Now, whether you want a woman who stays at home with the kids, or somebody who goes out and works for herself, or you want somebody who's ambitious, that's fine. But she should have some sort of a goal, some sort of an idea where she's going. That's important. Next, unreasonable entitlement. She feels that, of course, you should pay. Now, granted, in Eastern Europe and in other places in the world, and if she's a little bit more conservative, she may expect you to do that, and that's fine to an extent. But understanding roles, whether that's your interpretation of it or not, that's fine, is one thing. But having entitlement without gratitude is just an annoying character trait. She should have gratitude. If she says, there's a train going by, if she says thank you a lot, then that's a great sign. If she has a genuine appreciation for the meal that you pay for her, for the trip you go on, later, several months down the line, not in the beginning. If she has a lot of gratitude and she's really grateful, that's a really good sign of her being a good human being. Next. Always expecting more. No matter how much you give, there has to be the next trip. It can't just be a burger in a nice, funny place. When Fernanda and I, when we go somewhere, she's perfectly fine. Actually, for tonight, this is our date night right now. How's date night going, babe? You love it? Fuck yeah. I suggested to go to a nice fancy dinner. She goes, hey, we can just go get a burger in Bunsen. Bunsen is an amazing burger place in Dublin. It's like an orgasm in your mouth, the burgers, without an exaggeration. You should definitely go and check it out if you're ever in Dublin. But I suggested a fancy place. She says, we can just go for burgers. Because she doesn't care. It's not about the fanciness. I'm more of a fancy hoe than she is. She's like, yeah, nodding her head. It's true, but that's a good sign. She doesn't care. It's about experiences and quality time spent. Well, that's a good sign, guys. And the last one is a very materialistic mindset. If things matter to her a lot, that's a red flag. She should be about experiences, time, and connection. So these are red flags that you'll get to start to notice. So how can you position yourself in your communication with her? Well, one of the things you can do is not lead with money. Don't just talk about business and money all the time. Talk about your hobbies. Talk about why you're interested. Talk about the structure of the business. Talk about processes. Talk about your career. Talk about people. Talk about things and experiences. And relate these stories to you and her in a fun, teasy, and playful way, as opposed to showing off with wealth. I've had plenty of extraordinarily wealthy clients over the years, and still have, to varying degrees. And some normal people with normal jobs, obviously, also. But there's a lot of them who do have it, and then they lead with money, and then they attract gold diggers. I've had a client in Dubai. He positioned himself in a way where he always paid for everything, and then he ended up with a girl who wasn't intelligent, wasn't attractive, didn't have a great personality, and he basically wasted how much? Like 2 to 3 months? A bit more? 2 to 3 months of his life. A friend of mine and I, we actually sat him down at a restaurant at a bar in Dubai, and we said, what the fuck are you even doing? She's below you in every sense of the word. Remember that scale that I talked about, 0 to 30? You know, not just 0 to 10, looks. Intelligence and personality also matters. On that scale, where's she at? A 9 on a scale of 0 to 30? So what the fuck are you doing? If you lead with that, well, then you're going to attract the people who really care about that. If you lead with fun and experiences, then you get a woman who cares about fun and experiences. If you lead with connection and deep and meaningful conversations, then you get somebody who wants that. Now, the important thing with deep and meaningful conversations is a lot of men, they get way too lost on first dates when it comes to deep and meaningful conversations. So it's super important that it's fun and lighthearted. And is it still recording? Is it still recording or is it off? Oh, okay, awesome.
The time is wrong, just 1:45.
Okay, thanks, bro. So it's super important that you do have a degree of depth on your first dates. But you can't only have deep and meaningful conversations, because then you build no intimacy. You have to create a man-to-woman connection. So that's the second step. Don't just be about the money, but be about fun and playfulness and just about intimacy. Not in an overly fast way. It doesn't mean you need to be having sex with hundreds of women or some nonsense, like it's proliferated out there by some people. But verbally and non-verbally, you have to develop a degree of comfort regarding your own sexuality. That's important. Or at least of potential sexuality at some point in the future, right? So the more you make it about experiences and fun and playfulness and your personality and stories that you then relate to you and her, the easier it's gonna get. Trust me, your life can be amazing if you're with the right woman. If you're with the wrong woman, your life is gonna be a living hell. Now, my ex-wife, she really wasn't a gold digger at all, but there were a lot of things wrong in that relationship as well. So even though I was in a relationship with somebody who's a good person at heart, we just weren't right for each other, I suffered. And I'm not saying that because I'm a victim, not at all. I assume 100% responsibility for my actions, and so should you. Because the situation that you're in right now is a direct result of the actions you've taken in the past, and the thoughts you've had, and the blind spots you've had. But coming back full circle to what I was saying about my ex-wife, I was in a relationship with somebody and still I was lonely. So it's not just about getting into a relationship with somebody. This is about creating high quality options for yourself and then choosing an amazing girlfriend, life partner, or wife. If you want my help with that, apply for a free initial consultation call right now and save yourself years and a shit ton of money. You don't know how many people come to me after their first, second, or third divorce who've lost a lot of time and money, or people who've spent a ridiculous amount of money or time on the wrong women. If you want to save yourself all of that and make it a fun and enjoyable journey, apply for a free initial consultation call. Looking forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.